if and when you encounter some of the more challenging aspects of going to college, you feel really prepared to be able to kind of make choices that you feel like reflect you and help you. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, this is on mental health. Next week, we're going to talk 10 top 10 tips in general about going to college. So we'll be talking about everything from living with a roommate to where to buy your books and not be full price, to what you need to bring to college, to how to register for classes and not make mistakes, and then work registration process, which I have learned personally myself. Right? So we're going to try to pass along all of the good advice and wisdom that we have collected over the years to you guys so that you can keep the ground running. And then the final Thursday, we are going to have two people from Bellarmine, one who can personally run it, one who is a student office, come and talk to us about sexual assault, consent, ranking, some of those who have more serious problems. Okay? If you have any questions or concerns, please come to yes. Right? If there's a reason why you feel like any of this might be
Over the Zoom. I'm doing the same.
Okay.
We're gonna start in just a second.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'm in the Zoom.
Oh, then, yeah, you're good there. That's what they see. So, anybody who's on YouTube, is this or that?
Okay.
10, 15 years ago, a lot of
Can they
people
hear
invested
me?
a lot of money into gyms, workout areas, climbing walls, lazy rivers. What they're investing in a lot now are counseling, therapy, mental health services, right? To really ensure that this is a need on college campuses, and that there needs to be various types of
She
support
has
for
to
students
say.
for different
Oh wait, no,
reasons.
here we go.
And again, we want you to know that it's there. We want you to take advantage of it when and if you need it. We want you to pursue it, right? And we want you to know how to respond too. If you get in a situation with a friend where you feel like they need support and you may not be able to provide all of the support that they need, right? So how do I be a good friend? How do I be a good roommate? How do I be a good neighbor in a college community in which people might be going through different
Oh, it's just right. Let me check one thing. You'll go ahead though. Did it show up? Okay, yeah, it just has a delay. Okay.
I'm trying to take my mask down periodically to breathe because it's hot in here and I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, but I will stand back. So, as Ms. Gahan mentioned, these set of ed classes will just be about helping you transition to college. And I think one of the most important ways to help you transition is, and one of the things you all may have encountered already in your high school career is like your mental health. We are all, whether we're the school counselor or the college counselor, we care about your mental health. And believe it or not, that transition will be difficult in some ways. So we don't want you just to go to college. We want you to like thrive through college. That's the point, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like on a college campus. So we're going to talk about, like, let's normalize mental health conditions. I think when you first hear mental health conditions, you're like, oh my gosh, like, does that mean I'm crazy or what's wrong with me? No, it's absolutely normal. Just as you care for your physical health and you go and get checked out, you have to do the same for your mental health, right? We'll talk about stressors and ways to manage stress, signs of mental health conditions, and then your campus resources. And then lastly, a little bit, we'll touch on how alcohol, drugs relate to your mental health. At any time, feel free to ask a question, to chime in. I want this to kind of be interactive. I'm giving the information, but also I want you all to feel like this is safe where you can ask a question or make a comment if need be. So 1 in 5 young adults experience mental health. Again, it's normal. 30% of college students reported feeling down at some point to the point where they feel like they could not function or it's difficult to function. So 30%, that's a pretty big number, but also, again, it's normalized. This is normal. This doesn't just happen to just random. It's normal. It happens all the time. Some stressors that affect your mental health. I think this is a good list because it covers a lot of things and some that I didn't even think about. Relationship breakups, for grades, academics, your financial stress. If you're going to college and your parents, are figuring out how to pay for school, that could be a stress on you because you're worried about them, how they're going to pay for it. Feeling marginalized, misunderstood, feeling alone. That's the biggest one I think most students fall into, is that, especially if you're going far away where it's not an easy 2-hour commute to get back home, you feel alone and you get homesick. If you're worried about family members, I know a lot of students who were actually in school at their campus during COVID had family members back home that passed away, and that was hard to, not be able to, one, come home or to say goodbye. Loss of the day-to-day family support. You're kind of on your own in a way at school. You don't have mom and dad checking on you when you come home, or, your friends or whatever. This one's a big one. I wish it was the first one, inadequate sleep. It's so important to develop some healthy sleep habits now, because when you get to college, there's no one telling you to go to bed at all. So you've got to get adequate sleep. Feeling overwhelmed, friendship challenges. So these are just some of the things that are stressors and that can affect your mental health. So some signs of mental health conditions: when you're feeling sad or withdrawn for more than 2 weeks, that's something that you need to say, hey, something's going on. You need to recognize that something's going on. Out of control, risk-taking behaviors, things that are out of your character that you're doing. Sudden overwhelming fear for no reason. If you can't pinpoint what that fear is, that's something that's to look into. If you're not eating, you're throwing up, or you're using laxatives to lose weight. Of course, trying to harm oneself, or you're planning to do so. Extreme difficulty in concentrating or staying still. And then, like, the big one is drastic changes in mood, behaviors, or your sleeping habits, if those are fluctuating to a way that you don't even recognize yourself. Like, these are signs that this is a little bit deeper than just, I'm having a bad day. But you can find help, and there's hope. So some positive ways to cope with stress, and these may seem very trivial, but they really do help. I know for me, one of my stresses, I feel overwhelmed. I get so overwhelmed where I can't think of the next task to do. And one thing I try to do recently is create a list. Once seeing those things kind of gets it out of your head so that you're able to see, like, what is it that you have to do? You have a psych paper that's due at midnight. You need to, I don't know, if you're volunteering somewhere, or you have an assignment that's due by 9 p.m. Like, literally write those things out every day. One gets it out of your head, but that feeling of checking things off, as small and minute as that may seem, it's really a relief of, like, okay, I accomplished this. What's next? Exercising. Please do not neglect your exercise. I know you all, how many have heard of the freshman 15? It's real. Partly because your eating habits are not well, but partly because you lose your exercising and your day-to-day, just getting out and get, whether you run now or you weightlifting or whatever the case may be. Like, I'm sure every campus you all are going to have some type of fitness center. Get in there, or if it's just walking around your campus, get some exercise. Again, I can't emphasize sleep enough. If you're not good with time management now's a good time to really try to hone in and get better at that. You're gonna have to manage your time. Again, you're not gonna have your teacher saying, hey, this is due at midnight. Hey, are you up for class? That's just not there. It's really on you. So if you're one that stresses about time, learning how to manage that time will help alleviate the stress a little bit. Ask friends how they're managing stress. You all don't lose touch of each other. Like, still communicate and talk to each other once you go to school, and see how Nathan's managing his stress, or Grant is managing his stress at school. Like, talk to each other. Set aside time for self-care and figure out what that looks like for you. For me, self-care is riding my bike or exercising, or sometimes self-care is just having my favorite meal. Like, that's my self-care. Figure out what that is for you and do that. Take time to do that at least once a week. Practice mindful meditation and prayer. Eat healthy. Please avoid, as much as you can, alcohol and drugs. Like, seriously, that affects your mental state as well. I know part of being college is the party scene. We get it. But be smart about the decisions that you're going to make. And then talk with your resident advisor or trusted adult or campus. Every campus, this is a priority for them as well. It's like mental health. So every campus has some type of counseling center on campus. Again, so the campus resources, call the campus counseling center or health center, request accommodation with your conversation with your advisor, talk with your dean of students, ask them about it. Just don't sit with it. If you know, if like what you've done, even if you've done some of those things on the list, and you're still not feeling like something's still not right, like don't sit with that. And we're gonna watch a video after this that kind of touches on that. Like don't sit with that. It's okay if you're not okay. Like it's okay. Yes.
So most campuses have psychotherapists, or do they usually just have counselors?
I know they have counselors, some may have psychotherapists, and now they do have research to refer you to psychotherapists if they don't have one on campus. Like I said, we touched briefly on alcohol and drug use. Avoid alcohol and drug use to cope with stress. I think a lot of people say, oh, well, I'll just, have a couple of drinks to deal with this as I have my exam. Like, that's not healthy. And if you're experiencing warning signs of mental health condition, that just intensifies it. Avoid alcohol and drug use. It can worsen or an underlying mental health condition. Like if you haven't been diagnosed, you don't know what's going on. Adding alcohol and drugs to the picture just complicates things even more. Drug use, especially marijuana and hallucinogens, may increase the likelihood of psychosis in people who are at risk of developing serious mental illness. So again, it just makes things worse. Don't use that to cope. Find some of those healthy stress relievers to do. Plug into those. And then this, and I'm going to pass, we're going to have a handout for you to take this. So mental health is not just a one-time thing, right? I can either say I struggle with it. It's an ongoing thing. You just live life. It's hard. There's stuff in the media. There's policy. There's figuring out school, what you're going to do. Like, that's all part of mental health. Mental health doesn't always have to look like suicide. There's a spectrum of mental health. But it's an ongoing thing that you work towards. So the first is like you acknowledging, realizing that you're not in a good mental state. That's the biggest step you can take for yourself. It's like, hey, something's not right with me. What is it? Knowing yourself well enough to know I'm doing things out of character, or I'm reacting to things that normally I wouldn't react to, or I'm lashing out at people that don't deserve it. Check yourself. Check in with yourself. Then identify what is the stressor. What is causing you to behave in this way, to distance yourself in this way, and not reach out to your mom and dad. You haven't talked to them in 2 weeks. Like, what's going on? Get to the core of that. Talk with your campus health counselor, parents, or therapist. Again, I cannot stress enough. Do not just sit with it. Don't think I'm in this place by myself. No one's going to understand. Even if it's just saying, hey, for example, Ms. Gahan, when you're talking, Ms. Gahan, I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel right. That's enough. Like, even if you can't pinpoint what it is, say something. Don't sit with it. Manage your stress by finding healthy outlets, and then maintain. So consistently check in with yourself about your mental health, communicate with people who care about you, and keep trying new healthy ways to manage stress. I can't stress that enough. Keep trying new, what ways? Healthy ways. Exercise may not be your way to manage stress. Maybe you need more sleep. Maybe it's you need to read a book. Like, figure out what works for you if it's helpful. All right, any questions on that part? Any comments? Anything new you learned or didn't know, or, all right. Can one of y'all pass out these note cards? So we're gonna show a video because we're a little bit on a time frame, and I want to get to this. So I want you to get a note card. I'm gonna play the video, but for the note card. So on the side that's lined. Hey guys, do you have a pencil borrowing from the neighbor? So on the side of the note card, I want you to draw a line down the middle of it. All right? On half of your note card, I want you to take literally like 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to do this. To list your top 3 stressors. So what stresses Molly out? what do you know stresses, out? Like, what is it that you can say, when this happens, I feel stressed? Whether it's a lot of assignments, whether it's time, whether it's not talking to the time with friends, like, what is your stressors? What triggers your stress? Feeling overwhelmed. Take a minute to think about that. While you're doing that, I'm gonna set up the next part. For those wanting virtually, we'll figure out a way to get your cards when you come in for your buddy event maybe, and you can do this as well. So list your top three stressors on the one half of it. On the other half of the note card, you're gonna list 3 ways you can help yourself manage your stress. So think about that list. What are 3 ways that you have found or that you're discovering help you manage your stress? Is it spending time with family? Is it reading a book? Is it eating a certain meal, or is it taking a walk? What are 3 things that you have done or do that you say, this is a place of happiness for me? When I do this, I feel better, I enjoy it. What is that? It can be something as simple as watching The Simpsons. I don't know. Put something there. The 3 things that help you feel happy and feel good. This next little piece is going to require you to do a little bit of research if you can, or just think about it. Your college, where is your the location of your college counseling or mental health? And you may not be able to find that right now. That's time to list your school. If you, what'd you say? Yeah, if you know it, list your school. If you know your school you're attending, list that at the bottom. If not, it's okay. So your 3 stresses on one side, the 3 ways that you manage stress, and then the name of your school at the bottom or somewhere else. On the side that's not lined, on the other side, I want you to address this to yourself. Write your name and your address. No, I know you don't probably know your college address, so write your address down. What we're gonna do is in the fall, once school gets started, we're going to send this to you to remind you, like, hey, remember, these are things that stress you out, but these are how you deal with those things. These are how you're gonna manage those stress. Everyone needs a little reminder sometimes. So we'll send it to, write it, wait guys, you don't know how to address something, so it should be in the middle of the note card. Okay, try to do this again. So we're gonna send this to you, but we need you to put your address in the middle of the note card.
Should we just cross this out?
Just cross it out, yeah. Yeah, you're posted on your name, 2407 Lindner Avenue, Louisville, Kentucky, Fort Fletcher, in the middle. We're gonna send you, yeah, thank you. Your current home address. Our posted that will get sent to you. Your parents will know where you're living, and they will get them to you in the fall.
Be sure to put your name on the top line.
If you want another note card, you can give your note. I'm gonna get this video started. Continue to work on that. Hey guys, let's listen up, because I want you all can still work on that, but I want you to listen to this video. You guys ready?
She was losing the balance there between being perfect or trying to be perfect and trying to be happy.
I knew she was putting a lot of pressure on herself. I wish every day that I could have done something.
When Madison Holleran began her freshman year at the University of Pennsylvania, her family and friends assumed she would excel there, just as she had everywhere, in the classroom, on the soccer field, on the track.
Before she got the pen, what did she struggle with?
Not too much.
Madison was just like the happiest person that I knew. Until she went to college, she was always smiling. She was always talking, laughing, dancing, singing. I mean, she was all over the place, but in such a good way. She was just so happy.
Madison won 2 consecutive New Jersey state soccer titles at Northern Highlands.
Number 3, Madison Holleran.
She started running track, and by senior year won the state championships in that also, winning the 800 meters in a time of 2 minutes, 8 seconds.
Tying up the last few steps.
Madison accepted a scholarship to play soccer, her favorite sport, at Lehigh.
She told me she verbally committed to Lehigh for soccer, and I was so happy for her because that was a sport she loved.
Then the Ivy League came calling, but for track.
Why do you think Madison chose to run track in college?
I think because it helped her get in the Ivy League. She was enamored with the Ivy League. I think it was the prestige.
I think once that Ivy League was brought into her head, I mean, that was it for her. I think once she was shown that she could get that was in her reach, she wanted it.
In a way, an Ivy League school, those hallowed halls, offered something few other places could, the chance for the perfect college experience.
I think there's also a piece of when you're striving so much for perfection that it can manifest into like as a sickness when that's the case.
Madison chose Penn, but when she arrived on campus, instead of being the school of her dreams, it became the backdrop for her struggles. Running, school, friendship, nothing came as easily as it once had.
In college, everything's just turned up one notch. Like in high school, when you're trying to balance athletics, social, and school, it's very possible. It's difficult, but it's possible.
She wasn't feeling like she was achieving, I think, at her perfectionist level that she had become accustomed to.
And she couldn't make her real world look as perfect as the images she posted online.
There's the holes that you don't see. There's the hardships. There's the times when she was unsure, when she missed home. And that's kind of what people aren't seeing.
Madison felt off balance. She thought running took up too much time, and she considered quitting.
It was more like it was a time commitment, and it was taking away from other aspects of her life that she could have focused on more. Just like, I want a social life, and like track is really putting a burden on that.
Based on the pictures Madison was seeing online, her friends seemed to have found that balance, seemed to be enjoying college. Of course, when her friends looked at her pictures, they thought the same.
Often, like, she was trying to capture the beauty, and I think often when she did it, it was like a beautiful situation, but she like wanted to hold it forever and like remember it as that.
She could enjoy those small moments, but then she took the bad ones really, really hard.
When Madison went home over the holidays, she didn't want to admit she was unhappy, but she didn't have to say anything. Her family could tell.
When Madison came home, I didn't feel like she was really any happier. The one thing that she said that to this day still sticks out in my mind is this isn't normal. It is not normal to feel this way.
We were all hanging out in like the living room. My brother said to her, he's like, you don't laugh anymore. Like, you just never laugh. And Madison was like, I know.
There was nothing in her face. Like, there was no, Madison like wasn't there.
She didn't smile, which doesn't seem like it would be a weird thing, but for Madison it was. Like, to see her in a room for 10, 15 minutes and her not smile once, I mean, that was weird.
When I looked at her, she looked white. She looked depressed, and I said, Madison, I think you look depressed. And she was very quiet and said, Dad, all I want to do is go to sleep.
How much for you do you think it was setting in the space of college, and how much was it mental health?
Honestly, I think it was more of a mental health issue.
Is there any history of depression on your side of the family, on either side of the family?
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Over winter break, with the shifts in her personality now unmistakable, Madison began seeing a therapist.
She did admit that she had suicidal thoughts, and I was in her last session with her therapist, and she made Madison's state that if she had any suicidal thoughts, she would not act them out. You know, I was concerned with that answer, the way she answered it.
What about the way she answered it concerned you?
That it wasn't sincere enough. And she kind of looked away from us.
Back at Penn, Madison communicated to her friends that she planned to make the most of second semester. And she did have a plan. That plan was just drastically different than the one she was sharing with friends and family.
What do you remember about the day of January 17th?
I talked to her actually right around noon, and she told me she was buying books in the bookstore.
On the night of January 17th, 2014, just after dusk, Madison Holleran posted an Instagram from Rittenhouse Square, then walked to a parking garage at the corner of Spruce and 15th Street. She climbed the 9 flights of stairs to the top.
I think that Madison had this idea that she didn't want to be a burden to anybody. She didn't want to have to put her problems on anybody. So I don't think she wanted to ask for help if she didn't have to.
At the Penn bookstore, Madison had bought gifts for her family. On top of the parking garage, she would leave those items, including a picture of herself as a kid holding a tennis racket. And after placing those items where authorities would find them, she jumped from the side of the building.
We got a call from the chaplain later that evening. I mean, part of me was, I don't think this happened.
I was just like, I literally talked to her like 7 hours ago. How did that not even come up in conversation?
I could not process it. It did not hit me for at least 20 minutes. I didn't understand at all.
I called my mom and she just said it. Madison's dead. That's what she said.
Madison's friends and family say that she lived in the moment, that they rarely heard her talking about the future. And maybe, they say now, she couldn't project into that future, just couldn't see past the immediate pain of her present.
She had put UPenn on a pedestal, and that it's going to be this fantastic, fun college experience. And when it didn't turn into that, she wanted to try to fix it herself.
Madison had trouble asking for help. Her friends say she wanted things to be perfect. And even when they weren't, at least online, she could make it seem as if they were.
Sometimes people just only post the good parts, and maybe those pictures really are happy moments for them. But what's missing is the in-between. There's holes that you don't see.
I do definitely think she lived in the moment. When she was happy, she was so happy. I mean, she enjoyed the moment as much as possible.
She had 19 amazing years. And for most of them, except for maybe 3 or 4 months, they were so happy. And that's what I'll remember. And that's what I want people to remember.
All right, quickly, a couple takeaways you have from watching that video. Super fast, but there are some points that step out. Yes.
Don't be afraid to talk about your emotions.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to talk about your emotions. Do more. Yes. Not perfect. Yes. Ask for help. And don't stop asking. Ask for help. College is going to be one of the best times of your life. Please say this now. going to be one of the best times of your life. But it does come with some struggles and difficulties. But you have survived, the day that you survived because of your resilience, because you're aware of who you are, and don't let bad moments, turn into bad decisions and have a bad outcome. All right, ask for help, guys, stop asking help. Even if you don't feel comfortable asking on your campus, the good thing about being here, please, like, because you graduated, we don't stop caring, or we don't care about you. Feel free to reach out to myself, Ms. Jason, Mr. McGuire, Ms. Prince, Ms. Page, Ms. Carter, like, if it's a call us and say, hey, I'm just struggling, like, make that call. We would rather you make that call than any other call. All right?
I just want to second that. We are always here for you all. We just love you all so much. We, regardless of what it is, we always love you.
All right. We had a couple of announcements, I think, from Ms. Sharp.
Okay, we're gonna have a little impromptu class meeting. Okay. Okay, we just did have a meeting this week, but it's supposed to be off of it. Okay, please listen up. Couple of changes that are gonna happen for next week. One, we are going to open this lounge for seniors. Okay, so but please listen. Please listen. So, couple things. One, you can access that area in your study halls. So you can still come in your study hall space if you want. You can still use the tent. Okay, but we're just adding this lounge to it. Okay, this lounge is not going to look the way it typically would in a regular year. Okay, couches will not be in there. There will be chairs and tables for you to be able to kind of spread yourself out a little bit. You still have to wear a mask. Okay, the faucet, the water is going to be turned off because we can't have no community sharing like in the little kitchen area. Okay, no blankets, no pillows can be brought in. Okay, we still have to adhere to COVID time precautions. Okay, blankets and pillows have no place in the COVID world. Okay, where you all are sharing that space. Okay, we are going to have a camera set up in there. It is not to spy on you. It is literally just meant for contact tracing purposes. It's either that or one of us has to walk in there and sit with you. Okay, so I think we would rather go to the camera, okay, so that you guys feel like you've got some privacy without one of us sitting in there with you all the time. I don't want to sit with you. I really don't. Okay, that's the second thing. So that will start on Monday. Okay. Second thing, we are giving you open campus privileges starting next week as well. However, there are requirements around that privilege. One, it is a privilege. Okay, with the privilege comes some responsibilities. One, you have to sign in and sign out the way that you would on any given day, the way that you guys are currently doing for H blocks and possibly G blocks, okay, if you don't have that. Okay, so there will be a sign-up sheet you are obligated to, for school liability purposes, to sign in and sign out. If you leave, say H block on goal 1, and you have a G block class, that's fine. You are not allowed to bring food back into the building. Okay, so if you want to go out and have lunch or go home and get something to eat, awesome. You can't bring it back into the school building. Okay, that's for safety purposes as well. If you don't know what open campus privilege means, it essentially means that you can come and go during the course of the day based on your class schedule. However, you have to be here for advisory, community time, and first grade buddy events. Those are obligations and those are responsibilities that all seniors have. You cannot skip advisory because of open campus privilege, nor can you skip community meeting time. Okay? Yes, Ellen. Oh, no, we can't skip these either. Right. Community time is like when we're in my room and we're watching the live stream of morning meeting. Yeah. Okay. So those are all limits to you. You need to be here for that. Okay. This really applies to you in regards to study hall, and that is fit into the PP time. Okay. Yeah. You can come back now. Yes. And that's the other thing I want to say. We encourage all seniors to be back on campus. I know that there are maybe some family situations or COVID situations that we don't want to interfere with your decision making when it comes to the safety of your family and your friends. However, we want you to have as much of a senior experience in these last few weeks as possible. Okay? The school is working their tail off to give you these privileges and experiences. Okay? We cannot have you all sitting at home just because you don't feel like being here. Okay? We want you here. We want to see your beautiful faces before we send you off into your next journey of life. Okay? So I would ask that our seniors please encourage your friends, if they feel safe, to please come back. That includes those first grade buddy events. Do not leave a 6-year-old hanging on whether or not you will be here or not. Okay? If you know that you are not coming back to campus, okay, because of COVID reasons, you have to communicate that with me so that Ms. Allen can prep your first grader, okay, so that they're not alone on those first grade buddy events and upset. Okay, so you have got to take that responsibility very seriously. Levi, are you stretching? You got a question? Yeah. No, we're not changing any of those restrictions. No, like food still is a no.
You can go and eat and come back. You can't bring food.
Yeah.
You can go and eat. You wanna know how much the taco or whatever? Go ahead, and come back.
No food, no food. Yes. I can't hear you. He'll do it. We're working on it. Okay, last thing. I have several of you all who have not picked up your silk materials for your first grader. Again, this is a responsibility and an obligation that you have to your first grade buddy. You are making your silks. Okay, I know for a fact that the first graders have already started construction of their horses because I follow Ms. Allen on her Instagram, and they are ferociously building their horses right now. So it would be weird if they had a horse but didn't have a silk. So you need to, before you leave this room, you need to come see me to ensure that you have picked up your silk material, okay, for your kids. When are these due back to Ms. Page's office? Thank you. April 26th. No later. No later than April 26th. Okay? Congratulations on getting some privileges back. Please be responsible of these community members to keep them. Okay? And we're not done yet. Okay. You want to find your buddy? Come get your buddy stuff, please.